about the solution? How do I organize training strategy? And this is absolutely a requirement. This is really, really important. So we will talk about this. Also, it's really important to think about the community strategy in this approach. And often we go directly to the number 3, how do I communicate, how do I drive change management, and we skip number 1 and 2. So that's why in this presentation I want just to take a step back and talk about 1 and 2 as well. And lastly, number 4, last but not least, how can we demonstrate success as an organization once we've spent time deploying a solution and driving adoption? How do we monitor success, and how do we measure success and showcase success so that you can grow the user base, you can grow adoption of the product, and make yourself successful in front of the management and demonstrate the organization's success using the solution. So before I go ahead and start number 1, let me just skip link. Let me just check link to see if we have any questions so far. I think it's look okay. Some technical questions. There is monitoring. So okay, let's move to number 1. So one important thing when we see the rise of the clouds today in the enterprise and on the market among our customers, there is a new phenomenon that's occurring that we see more and more, and the analysts are seeing, and this is really, really exciting to us. It's as we free our hands as IT from really managing and operationing the operations on the servers, we actually have way more time to work closely with the business and make sure that the solutions that we are providing will actually fit the business need. And this principle is called business-driven IT. This phenomenon is called business-driven IT. And we see more and more customers having a huge, tremendous success with Office 365 because the IT department is slowly changing how they deliver solutions to the people within the organization, and starting to work more and more closely with the business to ensure they meet their needs. So to really just summarize here, the whole goal of this section here is really to understand that deploying just a technical solution is not gonna be enough from a business user standpoint. We really need to make sure that the technology is translated into business value. Every time I have a SharePoint presentation in a DBC or Office 365, I know we used to talk a lot about SharePoint as a platform that does enterprise content management, BI, search, a lot of technical words, but that doesn't translate into business value. We need to change our words. We need to tailor our language to make sure that business units and business people actually get the value of the solution. How this is going to help me do my job? How is this going to help me increase customer satisfaction? How is this going to help me increase employee engagement or employee retention? That's a business goal. That's a business objective, and the role of IT as technical people that understand the product is to make sure that we can translate this technology into business value and business words, and then map the capabilities of the solution into a solution that will fit the business needs. So this is really the first step here that requires some planning and cross-group collaborations beyond IT with some business units to really define the vision of what you're trying to accomplish. This is not about deploying, upgrading to the cloud because it's the new trend and we need to go to the cloud, or it's not about upgrading the server because that's the life cycle and we need to upgrade the server. It's really about defining how the technology we provide is going to transform how people work together. And there are some different tactics to do this, to include the business folks into this planning process. Some example of questions you can ask to the business, and again, we want the presentation to be really actionable, and there's no need to be a genius to think about those type of questions, but it's just to show you some example here. As you go and engage with the business, you can find within the different business units some ambassadors. That's something we've seen a lot among customers that were successful. They actually identified within different teams, working with HR and working with management, people, tech-savvy people maybe, but still business people, not IT, people that are working on different business objectives every day from like the operation standpoint, sales, marketing, HR, and those people were responsible for representing their teams and their groups and their needs to IT. That's a really nice way to engage with the business, to have the dialogue going back and forth, and making sure that we don't miss a thing when we're thinking about the technology. Those people can play really important for later on in the training and learning and evangelization process. We'll talk about this later, but it's really important to include them right from the outset. Before even you start to deploy anything or roll out the service, it's important to find those people among the business to make sure that we don't miss a thing, and to make sure that the solution is going to be a good match for the business. Now, the challenge is that each group might have different asks. And so that's our role, to make sure that we are able to prioritize and find what is the first, like the top, most important need for the organization across different departments. And then you might find needs for different specific needs by departments. And that's where IT can bring the expertise to prioritize the different use cases and the different needs, depending on how hard is it to implement, and what is the potential ROI on the solution. So those are just some examples here. I've also linked to a template that can help you define a vision from the Yammer Success Center website. The Yammer team, for those of you who are not aware, have a dedicated role that's called Customer Success Managers, and they are people that spend their day working with customers on those topics, making sure that the solution that's provided to the business map the business goals and objectives. They have a lot of learnings, and there are a lot of resources you can leverage from this side that can help you go through the process of defining the vision, defining the use cases, and make sure that we can change the language from technical language to business language, so that can also help you find sponsors and communicate with the business. Another great example of this is from one of our many of our customers was presenting during the Sharepoint conference in a customer panel session. So I've also added the link here. All of the sessions from Sharepoint conference are on Channel 9. So you can go ahead on Channel 9 and hear directly from customers themselves the challenges they faced and how they've addressed those challenges. I have different sessions from customers in the slides, so you will see during the presentations I will relate to different stories here, customer stories. One example of a business problem, again, it's not about we need to roll out Office 365 in the next 12 months. This is about how can we engage employees and help them financial information, because right now it's slow and not effective. So that's a business problem, and the whole project from this specific customer is called Nationwide, was to find the solution that is going to empower the business and solve their needs. Okay, so moving to part number 2. The next part, once you have, at this stage, you already have a vision on how the solution you build, the technology is going to transform the business. You have this small group of ambassadors that feed you the IT on what are the common needs, the daily challenges, and how what would be the most impactful solutions to provide to the business. So now it's time to think about how do we provide this solution. It could be out-of-the-box solutions like email, link, Yammer, or something that's built on top of SharePoint online. This is all part of Office 365. So now it's time to prioritize and find deliver the right solution for the people. And so here again, I can't emphasize this enough. It is critical to focus on the user experience, make the solution belongs to users, and keep asking people about areas for improvements. As you deliver the solution on the use case, you can need to keep this engagement going with the ambassadors and the pilot members to make sure that you keep improving the solution to make sure that we fit their needs. Now, again, as I stated before, the challenge here is that you can end up with a lot of different workloads and a lot of different products and a lot of different asks. So the challenge is to make sure that you are able to prioritize and start one step at a time. Simplify and start small. This is critical as well, because otherwise things might feel overwhelming to people. Often, again, I'm coming back to SharePoint Online, because that's a big component of Office 365. If we will roll out the entire solution, but it's from a user standpoint, it's really hard to understand everything and anything that the solution can do. So it's really critical to start and stay focused and deliver the first use case. Our recommendation is to start with OneDrive for business. That's part of SharePoint, because one of the first things that people want to do is simply store, sync, and share the documents. That's something that Office 365 provides through OneDrive for business. That's in the backend. It's SharePoint, and this is a really nice solution. This is really simple. This is really easy and simple to start with. Just these aspects of Office 365 or SharePoint Online. And later, once people are used to it, you can start to teach them how to build sites or how to do project management and how to do more advanced scenarios. But the point here is that identify the low-hanging fruits to begin with, and I will share later in the presentation some results of a research we've done to understand what people want. Our recommendation, again, is first scenario, store and sync, share documents. You might already see in your organizations people using Dropbox, Box, and it's not managed by IT just because they need to store their documents, access from anywhere, and share with people externally. So this is a really low-hanging fruit, if I may say, that will drive satisfaction, that will answer their needs. And once you increase confidence and once people feel more comfortable using this solution, you can start to teach them more. So really stay focused, keep it simple, so that you will avoid overwhelming people with too many things to absorb at once. A little bit of theory before I go to the results from the research is this slide comes from an article I found on Wikipedia called based on diffusion of innovations. This is a theory that Everett Rogers worked on. If you're not familiar with Everett Rogers, I was not familiar with his name, but he's the father of the term early adopters. He's a sociologist, writer, teacher, scholar. He spent his career working on those aspects, the diffusion of innovations, the concept of early adopters, and how people learn about the technologies and how technologies are just or innovations more largely just spread across people, and that's really interesting to read. In his article, he talks about the solution as well, because depending on how the solution is built and provided, is being developed, the impacts will be different. And he identified 5 factors that will help ensure that will increase the chances for the innovations to actually spread across the users. Number 1, it's the relative advantage. What's in it for me? If I adopt this solution, is there something for me in it compared to what I'm used to do today? Because people, as I said before, are naturally resistant to change. So the first thing is, number 1, what's in it for me? That's why it's really important in the first phase of driving adoption to define this vision, talking with the business to make sure that you identify their goals and needs, and you are able to articulate what's in it for them, as opposed to, here is the new Office 365, and click here and get started without exactly understanding what are the benefits from a user standpoint. Number two, in terms of compatibility, that means that we don't want like a big disruption, and we want to make sure that the solution is actually compatible with the way people live and work in this case. So if I am always on the road, I will need a solution that allows me to access my content offline, basically, as an example. Number three, complexity or simplicity. This is a huge factor that will influence how the solution is going to be adopted by the users. The more complex, the harder it will be for people to just try it and adopt it. That's obvious, but that's one of the factors here in Roger's theory. So again, the simpler it is, the better for the users. Then number four, in terms of tryability, that's interesting, and it comes back to the idea of having a pilot. And you want to start with the right people in your pilot. You want to have the right mix of influencers, early adopters, but also some skeptics, because if all of the members in the pilots are people that are known for being already convinced about the technology even before trying it, the inference results will be lower than if you also find some people that are actually not that much like the skeptics, people that are not that easy to convince, because their inference power is going to be higher. And you want to make this pilot open, because the more people can actually try it before the rollout, the more you will increase your chance for like viral adoption. And I will give you some more customer examples later. Number five, that's observability, and it's all about the social aspect. The more people have a chance to see how others are using it and experiencing it, the more you will create buzz, and the more they will want to actually do it themselves. That's a really natural behavior and a human behavior. And so as you think about doing the pilot, you want to start to generate buzz right from the pilot stage, so that people they want to sign up in the pilot, they want to try it as well, it looks cool, and they can see others using it and loving it, and then they want to be part of this closed group of this small group of pilot members. Okay, so just to sum up so far, you need a vision and you need a solution that matches people needs. But what people want? That's a tricky question, because they might want a lot of different things. So here, what I can share with you today is the results from a research we've conducted last year on SharePoint. We wanted to understand how people are being introduced to SharePoint in the enterprise, how they experience it, how they use it, what are the deployment and adoption patterns. Do we find scenarios by industries? Do we find scenarios by jobs? Do we find scenarios by departments? Do we have champions? Who are those champions? Because they can play a great role for viral adoption in the organic adoption in the enterprise, and influencers as well. And so that was basically the intent, the goal of this research. So how we conducted this research, we started in the United States with 8 focus groups, where we had half and half, 4 focus groups with IT professionals and 4 with users, IWs. And we wanted to understand how did you hear about SharePoint? What do you think SharePoint is? How do you use it? It was interesting because from an IT standpoint, SharePoint was either super successful, people absolutely got it, they like it, or they were having these adoption issues. And that's applicable to on-prem and online, by the way. The research was agnostic of online on-prem. We had a mix of customers with various versions and both on-prem and online as well. And from a user standpoint, it was interesting because we always had, at least in the room, one or two champions or power users, if you will. And those people always told us like a similar story. They learned how to use it by themselves. They didn't actually get trained. They learned by themselves. They started to build a solution that totally changed how their team or department or group operates, and they became the new stars. And then the adoption started to spread, and they showed others how they can build solutions and how it can help, and it started to spread organically. But often we heard that they didn't get training, or like people didn't get training, or they didn't get any communications to actually tell them how it can be useful for them, what's in it for them. And as you can imagine, each different user had a different opinion on what SharePoint is. For some people, it was just an intranet. For others, it was just where I go and store my documents. For many of them, actually, but it's just where I go and store documents, but I don't really know what else I can do with it. So that was the first phase of the research, the qualitative research, and then we moved to the quantitative research, and we did, or we actually also had individual interviews with 6 customers that had a tremendous success driving adoption in the organizations, because we wanted to understand how they operate differently and what they did differently, what are the best practices and the factors for success. And we learned a lot from those organizations as well. So that's where some of the best practices I'm sharing through the presentation comes also from what we learned through those interviews. And lately we also conducted an online survey across the United States, Germany, and Japan to validate the findings from the qualitative research, and to see if we would find different patterns by geos. And it was the use cases and the way people use the product was similarly was the same. So one of the findings that I love from the research was when we ask people, what are the top benefits for you? So it's not about the benefits for the company or the benefits for IT of rolling out this solution. It's really about what matters to you the most. And we asked the questions during the focus groups, the interviews, and online. And we had like 800 participants online that validated those results. The first thing at the top right, you can see that the top 2 things that really matter for people is the new and simplified user experience. And the way we developed the new SharePoint online on-premise is all about simplifying this user experience, putting people at the center of the experience. And I think it emphasized what we talked about before. No matter what the solution is, if you build something custom or for any other solution, that's one of the first things that matters to people. And here, number 2 is how, or equally number 1, a solution that helps me store and sync my documents. I want to be able to have my documents in one place, one central place, one hub for my content, and I want to be able to sync those documents across my devices. So that's why I was explaining before, from our perspective, from this research, from our learnings, and again, like all our customers are different, so you might feel it's slightly different for you, for your organization, and completely different, but that comes from a heavy research, 800 users, a lot of focus groups and interviews. What people told us is, I want a solution that helps me to store sync documents. That's what OneDrive for Business can do, and this is a really low-hanging fruit. That's a solution you can implement in hybrid environments or totally online with Office 365. And this is the first thing that's going to impact people in a positive way at work, and that's the easiest way to get started and to drive user adoption in the organization. The first use case, and then in the middle here, there's the whole collaboration story basically, and that's interesting too, because this shows that something that I've learned from Yammer. The CSM from Yammer have this this idea that even if Yammer is an enterprise social solution, so by essence it's social. You can't have one person on a social network. But in order to drive adoption of a social solution, we need to start at an individual level. We need to show people as one person, as one individual, what's in it for you. And then later, people will start to work in one to few, across the team, across the group, and across the division. And then it becomes viral and organic, and people start to work together. But the best way to onboard people on the solution is to show them first what's in it for them as individuals. And so here it's clearly, it's a really individual, personal scenario. And then here we start to see that people, yeah, of course, they want to be able to share their content, and they also want to be able to share their content internally and externally, which OneDrive for Business and Office 365 can help you with that. Then people are obviously looking at ways to keep their projects on track. Project management is a huge, it's a huge scenario use case in Office 365 and SharePoint. Being able to organize and keep teams in sync with a shared site and calendars and notebook and the task list and all that. This is one of the top benefits from a user perspective. And then we have the search component, being able to find what I need to get things done instead of reinventing the wheel, finding the right people, so the social aspect. And here it depends a lot on the size of the business. But even in a small business, there are a lot of benefits to use enterprise social solutions. Just if you think about capturing knowledge and making sure that people can have conversations from anywhere, even when they're not in the office, for example. And mobility was an interesting scenario because it really popped among like the sales force more than HR, for example, which makes sense. It's people that are always on the road, cares about mobility more than people that just work from the office. Okay, so that was for what matters to people, no matter who they are and what they do, what are the top benefits. But then we also wanted to see what are the patterns by functions and by departments. And that was really interesting because, again, no need to be a genius, but the research validated this approach and helped us understand what really matters to people, what's in it for them. And then you can see that, for example, in engineering, R&D departments, being able to share best practices knowledge across geography, capture all this knowledge is a critical scenario. If we look at operations, manufacturing, logistic departments or sector, being able to improve and monitor business processes is a top scenario, is top need, and that's something that Office 365 and SharePoint can help you provide to the people. If we look at sales, marketing, PR communications, being able to align sales and marketing teams to have a consistent messaging is critical as well. In HR, one example was gather and process forms from employees. And here I heard a really nice story during the focus group from an HR woman that she didn't know SharePoint when she took her new role in her organization. And she spent 3 months gathering forms on paper for every new vendor requests for his company and from her company. And she spent 3 months, like a whole summer, gathering all those forms and all those paper and processing everything manually. And that was driving her crazy. And at some point, maybe by accident, she actually talked about it with someone from IT and explained like, oh, this is just so hard. I'm losing so much time and so much hours going through this process. This is so painful. It was like, well, I can help you with, I can give you a solution that does everything for you automatically. And he set up something really simple in SharePoint using like just a custom list and a simple workflow so that people just go in one place, fill out the request online, trigger a workflow, she gets notified, and she can take it from here. It saved her hours, and she didn't have to implement the solutions herself, but she became an advocate among her department and HR to tell others how the solution was great for her and how it was helping her saving time. And slowly, again, here in this example, the adoption started to spread across and people started to look at how they can do things differently and more efficiently using such solutions. We actually found a lot of other tasks. I'm showing you some of the best examples here, but we found a lot of different tasks by department. So this is a slide that is in the presentation, and you will get the slides after the webcast. So you can see the different things that really matters for people depending on their jobs and functions. But now we found a list of 50 different scenarios, and we wanted to regroup all them and simplify into a story to help people understand what are the top use cases for SharePoint Online as part of Office 365, and and so we simplified the whole list and created this content here. So the getting started scenarios, the first 6, come from the first slide I showed you. The top benefits, no matter who you are, what you do, who you work for, what are the things we're trying to accomplish. Number 1, how can you store things, share your content better using Office 365 and SharePoint? But not just storing the document, but also how you can take advantage of co-authoring, for example, which is a feature that has been here since Office 2010, but not a lot of users actually know about it. So we want to tell them this story, how they can be more efficient at document collaboration using this type of features. Then how can we keep everyone on the same page using a site, calendars, notebook as part of a site? How can we stay on track and deliver on time using more advanced project management features and task lists within Office 365 and SharePoint? The search example, the social example, and the BI examples, all of those scenarios we've worked on, we've packaged them up in a booklet format and a website, and I'll show you the resources later, to tell the story to users, to help them understand what's in it for them and help you communicate to the business users on what are the different scenarios and help identify which one matters the most and how you can take it from here and maybe adapt and customize it for your specific needs. And we also have some scenarios by departments to help you go ahead and get started. So just to sum up, before I show you the different resources, this is another session I wanted to share with you from the SharePoint conference. So you have a link here to watch it on channel 9. This is a customer session from Nationwide where they explained how they've built their intranet, their new intranet called Spot, on top of SharePoint and Yammer. And I love this quote from the case study from the product manager who was in charge of building Spot for Nationwide, Jeff Schumann. He just said, we want them to love this tool. And part of that is not only listening to employees, but taking that feedback and truly turning it around and implementing that feedback. And this is, I think it's a good way to just wrap up on this section, number 2, how we can build a solution, because we just need to put ourselves in our users' shoes. And the more we engage with them and the more we have these communications channels open, the more we get feedback. And it's also important to set up expectations. We can't duplicate ourselves and we won't be able to do everything at once. But as long as there's this dialogue and this will to just build the solutions for the users and for their needs, the more you will increase the chances for success and adoption of this solution. And again, it's just it's important to set up expectations on what's going to happen when, because we need to prioritize work. And also, nothing is perfect the first time, and that's okay. If you watch this session, you will see it was a 2 years journey for Nationwide to build and implement their solution. And they went through a V1 and V1.5 and V2, and release after release, they just improved it, and they made it better and better and better, step after step. Okay, so I'm checking the questions now before moving to the next part. So we have a questions here. Will you change the number of files to sync with OneDrive or SharePoint document library? I'm not sure. I don't think there's a limitation here. Okay, so yeah, maybe that's not the right webcast. All right, so let's move on just to the next part. Number 3, we have a vision that helped us build a solution that's going to transform how people work and the business. And we know, we feel good, the solution is really has been built by including various stakeholders from the business since day one. Now it's time to start to communicate about it more broadly, and it's time to execute on the communication, readiness, and community strategy. So one of the first things you want to think about is how you can drive awareness and excitement about what you create, what you provide. And the goal again is to inspire and create anticipation for what's coming in the organization. People don't know, we don't know what we don't know. So obviously we need a communication plan. And in the way you communicate, again, keep in mind that we need to tailor our language from technical to business language and really show people what's in it for them. What is the benefit for you? We heard you. We know you have problem finding what you need and finding information and expertise. This solution is going to change your world because it's going to help you connect across different groups and help you find information. That's an example. As part of this process, again, IT can't do it all alone. This is a cross-group collaboration effort. So it's important to involve corporate communications that will help plan for official communications within the organization. And at this stage, you can leverage the sponsors and early adopters you worked with so far in the step 1 and step 2, defining a vision and building the solutions, because they will become great advocates for the solutions that you're providing. And again, like one quote we heard from a focus group from an organization that was successful is simply that if people understand how it's going to help them, then they will be more motivated to learn it. But by default, my assumption is always that people are doing their work every day, and they have other things to do than learning new technologies, right? So it's important to really show them, hey, there is really benefits for you in using this. Let me show you how it works, and so that people becomes more interested to learn it. Next, it's always keep in mind that we want to be able to rally people around the solution, and we don't want to shut down communications between IT and business once the solution has been rolled out. So it's important to keep the communications avenues open, keep seeking feedback, act on it, set up expectations on when it's going to happen, what we're doing, what we're not doing, and the reasons why. And we see more and more customers using Yammer as actually a great tool for this type of communications and engagement, because you can just set up a group and have people participating in a conversation and discussion and sharing feedback on the solution. That's something we even use internally at Microsoft when we have products that are not even in the beta phase yet, in public beta. We're just trying it internally. We have our engineering groups creating groups on Yammer, and where people can actually give feedback about what they find about the solution, how we would like to see the solution, or any bugs we can find. So that's Yammer is a great tool to leverage for this. There are a lot of different ways of doing it. Two other sessions really interesting you can watch on Channel 9. Again, the nationwide and the showcase, where customers explain various ways they've actually done it. In the case of nationwide, they actually organized weekly webcasts on spot to just keep creating the buzz. They even started with announcing during a company meeting the new solution, and just to create some buzz. And at this stage, not everyone had access to it, but it was well communicated in collaboration with the corporate communications. It was during a company meeting, and it generated the buzz and the willingness for people to actually learn more, and people suddenly all wanted to be part of it. So it was a great way to drive organic adoption. So that's about the communication strategy, but it's also, let's keep in mind that training, or at least like resources, are critical to help people ramp up and learn. But people have different learning styles, and one size doesn't fit all. Not everyone is willing to spend one day in formal training in the classroom to learn about a product or a solution. Some people do, not everybody. So it's important to think about, when you think about the training strategy, think about simple and engaging training. Keep in mind that one size doesn't fit all, and do not underestimate the power of a community of users within your organization, champions. Bring people together, because that's the best way for people to learn, actually. That's also something we've learned from the research. The most effective and common learning methods for users, for people, is to learn from their peers. And I've heard during a focus group as well, one person saying that even if Microsoft is building the product, and even if we are the experts in this product, in this area, she doesn't trust us to teach her how to use it, because we don't know her constraints, we don't know her environments. So it was like, of course, it's good to get started and understand the core value of the product, but what she really needs is having someone that she can go talk to in her group, next door maybe, that knows exactly her job, that knows exactly her environment, the constraints, the daily constraints and challenges they have, so they can really speak the same language and they understand each other. And you can use champions for that. We have a lot of customers that have worked on various programs to help people to groom champions within their organizations, and champions become the channel, if you will, for IT to go and reach to more users. So that's a really important aspect that you should plan for as well. How to motivate champions? Also something we found from the research. Great, we need champions, so how do we go reach out to them and how do we motivate them? What was really interesting for us to see is that the large majority of champions actually are not waiting for anything to happen. It's a really natural behavior. It's just making their job easier to show others how to use it. And they also like to get some recognition for expertise and efforts, or a formal program to encourage those behaviors. So that's where working with HR and working with the management to enable those people, to give them the recognition they deserve for the time they spend showing others how things work, is also important. And just to put some structure in the program and help users, people that need help, finding the people that can help them. And I recommend this session from Best Buy that was also at the Sharepoint conference, so the link is right here. In this session, Matthew Ruderman and Sarah Hayes explain how they drove the Ninja program within Best Buy, and it was a really structured approach and a really successful approach. And so I recommend to watch this session to learn more about how they did things on their hands. All right, so just before going to wrapping up on the presentation, I see we almost running out of time now. I'm speaking too much, so I'm going to go ahead and show you some demos of the resources that we have that can help you in the process. So what you're going to see here is this is a program that we just started. It is not publicly available yet. This is something that our customers can get through our Microsoft employees or through our partners. And for this webcast, I got from my colleague a voucher, a code, so you will be able to go ahead and access this to try it out and let us know what you think. So this is called Fast Track, And Fast Track can do a lot of things. One of the things that Fast Track does is provisioning an Office 365 environment for you to help you get started quickly. And it gives you 3 steps for technical deployment. So you can get started right away with the pilot deployments and then growing the deployments, the implementation and adoption within your organization. So initially, that's what Fast Track does. Now, what we've done in this last release is we also added a change management section here where you can see a lot of resources from our user assistance team and templates, resources to help you drive change management within your organization. The other thing I wanted to show you is the scenarios that we talked about before, the getting started scenarios and the scenarios by departments. They are all available within Fast Track. So here you can go ahead and you can see, you can read how OneDrive for Business, name is going to change here, can help people still sync and share their documents and do co-authoring. So we've got videos for each of the scenarios that you can watch here, right in the product. We also have the click-through interactive guide to show people how thing works right from the product. And one step at a time, I can discover more scenarios on how I can use those tools with videos, click-through, and guide right here. So this is, just to be clear, this is to help people understand, to help you get started with the pilot, and to help people get started with the service. Then we also have specific scenarios, the same scenarios I was talking before, by department. So for example, for HR and communications, how we can keep everyone informed using Yammer, how we can onboard new employees using Yammer and or SharePoint online. And below you have a site where you can actually start to build up the solutions for the pilot members, and they can start to experience the solution right from here. So that's this is called Fast Track. The scenarios are all available here. Now, for more advanced training and for the Office clients especially, we also have a page here that gives users resources to get trained on the Office clients, the new Office clients, to help them make the switch from 2010, 2007, I don't know, 2003, I don't know which version they were using, to help them make the switch to the new version and get started quickly. And the video learning section here is actually contains a lot of videos, specific videos for specific features, how-tos and help to learn how to do specific things to complement the scenarios for really specific tasks. So this is Fast Track, and this is available for you, just for you. I'll give you the code at the end of the webcast. It should work around 10 a.m. So in a few minutes it should be available to you. All right. So wrapping up really quick here on the reporting side, measurements. Again, we've spent so much time like defining the solution, the vision, building the solution, driving adoption. How can you actually measure success and share success within the organization? One thing not to forget that's really important is to before you even get started, make sure you have a benchmark, because that's going to help you to actually track progress and make sure that you can demonstrate the progress compared to where you were before. You need also to think about how do we capture information to showcase success. You need a mix of qualitative and quantitative results. So you need to be able to identify KPIs that will help showcase that the solution is working. And you can use various types of KPIs. Some people are just looking at usage KPIs, which is tricky because we have just a few usage KPIs. But if you think about it, if we look at the Yammer network or OneDrive for Business storage, it's growing. Engagement is growing on the network. Storage is growing on OneDrive for Business. Is that really showing success? Because numbers, we could say what we could. The numbers can tell different stories. on the Yammer network, maybe the engagement is growing because something fun happened in the company or recently and people are talking about it, but are they actually doing work? We don't know. So it's important when you think about KPIs, it's important to define KPIs that are actually related to the solution you provide. If, for example, we saved X time while processing this order, that's something that actually matters to the business, and that is a proof that the solution is effective. And then also don't forget to gather stories and success stories. Keep the interviews, identify nice quotes from business users and nice success stories that can also back up the numbers and vice versa. So you need to have a mix of both to be able to showcase success. So again, on the Yammer Success Center, there are a lot of great resources you can use. The success booklet explained is a nice example of how you can demonstrate success of Yammer on the long term. And again, you might be using Yammer or not. I think it's still a great resource because it will give you idea and inspiration on how to do those things, because that's a really hard exercise. And the Office 365 adoption kits available here contain some templates of employee satisfaction survey that you can leverage to gather more information about the solution you provided. So you can get access to Fast Track today if you access just this link, aka.ms/getfasttrack, and you can use the promo code IGNITE to set up your tenant. So I encourage you to go ahead and do this. Also, please join us on the Office 365 IT Pro network, yammer.com IT Pro network. Let me just go ahead and try to add this in the link. All right, so http aka.ms/getfasttrack. Promo code is IGNITE. And also join us on yammer.com/IT Pro network. We have a group that's called Driving Adoption, where we have more and more customers joining us to talk about those things. So I wanted to thank you again for your time this morning.